I think I didn't do anything wrong, just made a mistake that anyone could have. But when my husband handed me divorce papers and showed the judge a video I swore was old, everything changed. Now my family blames me, and he's walking away with everything. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The kitchen felt suffocating that Tuesday morning. Darren sat hunched over his laptop at our breakfast table, fingers flying across the keyboard while his coffee grew cold. Tax season was in full swing, and my husband had transformed into a machine. Wake up, coffee, work, sleep, repeat. I stood at the counter, buttering Mia's toast, watching him ignore both of us. "Daddy, look!" Mia held up her drawing of our family, 3 stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. That's nice, sweetheart," Darren mumbled without looking up. My 6-year-old's face fell. I felt that familiar surge of frustration bubble up in my chest. This was our life now, me managing everything while he disappeared into spreadsheets and client files. My phone buzzed on the counter, a text from Kellen, the new tech support guy at school. "Morning, beautiful. Ready for another thrilling day in the library?" I smiled despite myself. At least someone noticed I existed. "Who's texting you?" Darren glanced up, finally showing interest in something other than his work. "Just Celia," I lied smoothly, flipping my phone face down. "She wants to grab lunch this weekend." He nodded and returned to his screen. The dismissal stung. When was the last time he'd called me beautiful? When was the last time he'd asked about my day and actually listened to the answer? Later that evening, after Mia was tucked into bed, I found myself scrolling through Kellen's messages while Darren worked late in his home office. The conversation had started innocently enough. Questions about the library's computer system, jokes about difficult students. But lately, his texts had taken on a different tone. "Bet you look gorgeous even after dealing with 7th graders all day," his latest message read. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. This was harmless, wasn't it? Just a little attention from someone who appreciated me. I wasn't doing anything wrong, just enjoying some friendly conversation with a coworker. "You always know how to make me smile," I typed back. "I'd like to do more than that." My heart raced. I glanced toward Darren's office, where I could hear him on a conference call. When was the last time my own husband had made my heart race like this? I was about to respond when I heard footsteps in the hallway. Quickly, I deleted the message thread and switched to a recipe website just as Darren appeared in the living room doorway. "Still up?" he asked, loosening his tie. "Just looking up dinner ideas for tomorrow," I said, not meeting his eyes. He nodded absently and headed toward the bathroom. No kiss goodnight, no question about how my day went. Just another night of being invisible in my own marriage. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Kellen. "Sweet dreams, Isolde. Can't wait to see you tomorrow." I felt a thrill run through me as I quickly read it, then deleted it. Darren emerged from the bathroom, glancing at my phone as the screen went dark. "Everything okay?" he asked, something unreadable in his expression. "Of course," I said, forcing a bright smile. "Just tired." But as I watched him climb into bed beside me, I couldn't shake the feeling that he'd seen something. The way he looked at me, suspicious almost, made my stomach clench with guilt. No, not guilt. Frustration. If he paid half as much attention to me as he did to his work, I wouldn't need to find validation elsewhere. The next morning at Franklin Middle School, I threw myself into organizing the library's new book display, trying to push away thoughts of the previous night. But when Kellen appeared in the doorway during my lunch break, my resolve crumbled. "Busy?" he asked, that crooked smile making my pulse quicken. Kellen O'Brien was everything Darren wasn't: spontaneous, attentive, exciting. At 31, he had an easy confidence that drew people in. He made me feel like the most interesting woman in the room, not just another obligation on someone's to-do list. Always, I replied, but I was already closing my laptop. What's up? Computer in the main office is acting up again. Mind if I work in here? It's quieter. I nodded, acutely aware of how my heart sped up when he settled at the desk across from mine. We worked in comfortable silence for a while, stealing glances at each other. When he suggested we grab coffee to discuss system upgrades, I knew it had nothing to do with computers. The grind, a cozy cafe 10 minutes from school, felt like neutral territory. We chose a corner booth, and I told myself this was just two colleagues having a professional discussion. But the way Kellen looked at me, the way he leaned in when I spoke, made it clear this was something else entirely. "Your husband's a lucky man," he said, stirring his coffee. "Sometimes I wonder if he knows that," I replied, immediately regretting the admission. But Kellen's sympathetic expression encouraged me to continue. "He's so wrapped up in work. I feel like I'm married to a ghost. You deserve better than that." The words hit me like a physical touch. When was the last time Darren had told me I deserved anything? We talked for over an hour, about books, travel, dreams we'd put on hold. Kellen listened to every word, asked follow-up questions, made me laugh until my cheeks hurt. I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. "I should get back," I said reluctantly, checking my phone. 3 missed calls from the school office. "This was nice," Kellen said, his hand briefly covering mine on the table. "We should do it again." I nodded, not trusting my voice. Walking back to school, I crafted my story. I'd stayed late to finish inventory, lost track of time. Simple, believable. But as I passed the main office, Mrs. Henderson looked up with concern. "Isolde, where were you? I've been calling. You missed pickup duty, and little Mia was looking for you." My stomach dropped. I'd completely forgotten about after-school pickup duty. "I'm so sorry, I was dealing with a vendor issue, lost track of time." Mrs. Henderson frowned, but nodded. I hurried to find Mia, who was sitting quietly in the aftercare room, her backpack clutched to her chest. "Mommy!" She ran to me, and I hugged her tight, guilt washing over me. "Sorry, baby. Mommy got held up at work." The drive home was quiet, Mia unusually subdued. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, seeing her small face staring out the window. What kind of mother forgets to pick up her own daughter? Darren was already home when we arrived, standing in the kitchen with Mia's forgotten lunchbox in his hands. "She left this on the counter this morning," he said. "I tried to drop it off, but they said you weren't there. Where were you?" The question hung in the air. I could see suspicion creeping into his expression, and panic fluttered in my chest. "Vendor meeting," I said quickly. "The new computer system, you know how it is. Ran longer than expected." "Which vendor?" The follow-up question caught me off guard. Darren never asked follow-up questions about my work. Tech solutions. Very boring stuff." He nodded slowly, but something in his eyes had changed. "Next time, maybe let the office know where you'll be. They seemed worried." "Of course, won't happen again." But as I watched him help Mia with her homework, I knew something had shifted. The easy trust we'd built over 8 years of marriage had developed its first crack. That night, after Mia was asleep, I sat in our bedroom staring at my phone. Kellen had sent another message. "Had a great time today. You're incredible, Isolde. I should delete it. I should tell him this couldn't happen again." Instead, I found myself typing back, "Me too. Thank you for listening. Anytime. You deserve someone who sees how amazing you are." I was so absorbed in the conversation that I didn't hear Darren come upstairs. When he appeared in the bedroom doorway, I quickly closed the messaging app, but not before he caught a glimpse of my guilty expression. "Work emails?" he asked, his tone carefully neutral. "Just Celia," I lied again. "Sister drama, you know how it is." He nodded, but I could see the wheels turning in his head. As he got ready for bed, I deleted the entire message thread with Kellen, my hands shaking slightly. This was still harmless, I told myself. Just friendship, just conversation. But as I lay awake next to my husband that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was standing at the edge of a cliff, and one more step would send me tumbling into the abyss. Ruth Maynard's dining room had always intimidated me. The polished mahogany table, the good china that came out for every family dinner, the way she arranged everything just so, it all felt like a test I was destined to fail. This Sunday was no different, except I was walking in with guilt sitting heavy on my shoulders and a desperate need to deflect attention from my recent behavior. "Isolde, dear, you look tired," Ruth said as she opened the door, her sharp eyes scanning my face. At 62, my mother-in-law had perfected the art of the backhanded compliment. "Thanks, Ruth. Always know just what to say," I replied with a forced smile. Darren appeared behind me with Mia's overnight bag. "Mom, be nice." "I'm always nice," Ruth huffed, but she kissed his cheek and took the bag. "Mia, sweetheart, Grandma made your favorite cookies." My daughter perked up for the first time all week. She'd been unusually quiet lately, clinging to me more than usual. I told myself it was just a phase, but watching her light up for Ruth while remaining subdued around me stung. The dinner conversation started normally enough. Ruth updating us on her book club, Darren discussing a difficult client, Mia chattering about her art project. But then Ruth turned her attention to me. "And how's work, Isolde? You seem to be staying quite late recently." My fork paused halfway to my mouth. "Just busy season, you know. Lots of inventory." "Inventory," Ruth repeated, as if testing the word. "In February?" "Ruth," Darren warned, but I could see him watching me too. The scrutiny made me defensive, and when I got defensive, I got mean. It was a pattern I'd perfected over the years. Deflect attention from my own shortcomings by highlighting someone else's. "Well, someone has to keep busy," I said, with a laugh that sounded forced even to my own ears. "Darren's been practically married to his calculator lately. Tell them about the exciting Saturday night you had reorganizing your file cabinet, honey." Darren's face flushed. "Isolde." "Oh, and the thrilling conversation we had about tax codes over breakfast really gets the blood pumping." I took a large sip of wine, feeling the familiar buzz of alcohol loosening my tongue. Ruth's expression hardened. "Darren works hard to provide for his family. Of course he does. St. Darren, always so responsible, so predictable. Did you know he color codes his sock drawer?" I was spiraling now, but I couldn't stop. The guilt and frustration of the past weeks was pouring out as cruelty. "And he sets 3 alarms every morning because he doesn't trust himself to wake up on time. 3, like he's defusing a bomb instead of going to count other people's money." "Mom?" Mia's small voice cut through my rant. She was staring at me with wide, confused eyes. "Why are you being mean to Daddy?" The question hit me like a slap. The room fell silent except for the ticking of Ruth's grandfather clock. Darren's face had gone pale, and Ruth looked like she wanted to throw me out of her house. "I'm not being mean, sweetheart," I said, forcing my voice to soften. "Mommy's just joking around." "It doesn't sound like joking," Mia whispered. Darren cleared his throat. "Why don't you go wash your hands for dessert, Mia?" After she left, the silence stretched uncomfortably. Ruth began clearing dishes with sharp, angry movements. "That was uncalled for," Darren said quietly. "Oh, come on. I was just keeping things light. You're being too sensitive." "Light?" Ruth slammed a plate down harder than necessary. "You just humiliated your husband in front of his daughter." "I was making conversation." "You were being cruel," Ruth interrupted. "I don't know what's gotten into you lately, Isolde, but this isn't the woman my son married." The accusation hung in the air like smoke. I wanted to defend myself, to explain that I was drowning in a marriage that felt more like a business arrangement, that I needed something, anything, to make me feel alive again. But looking at their faces, I realized how it sounded, how it looked. "I think we should go," Darren said, standing up. Darren, wait! I started, but he was already calling for Mia. The drive home was silent except for Mia's questions from the back seat. Are you and Daddy fighting? Did I do something wrong? Why was Grandma Ruth upset? Everything's fine, baby, I kept saying, but even I didn't believe it anymore. That night, after Mia was asleep, I tried to talk to Darren. I found him in his office, but instead of working, he was just sitting at his desk, staring at nothing. I'm sorry about tonight, I said from the doorway. He looked up, and I was shocked by the sadness in his eyes. Are you, or are you sorry you got called out? That's not fair, isn't it? He turned in his chair to face me fully. Isolde, what's happening to us? You've been different lately, distant, angry, secretive, and tonight, I've never seen you be deliberately cruel before. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Kellen. Thinking about you. Hope you had a good day. The timing couldn't have been worse. I felt my face flush, and I saw Darren notice. Who's that? Probably Celia. I lied automatically. Look, I know I was out of line tonight. I'm just stressed, and I took it out on you. That wasn't fair. He studied my face for a long moment. Is there something you want to tell me? The question hung between us, heavy with implication. This was my chance to come clean, to admit that I'd been having coffee with another man, that I was craving attention and validation in ways that scared me. This was my chance to save my marriage. Instead, I shook my head. There's nothing to tell. I'm just going through a rough patch. I'll do better. He nodded, but I could see he didn't believe me. Okay, but Isolde, whatever's going on with you, don't take it out on Mia. She doesn't deserve that. The words cut deep because they were true. I was so wrapped up in my own drama that I was hurting the most innocent person in all of this. You're right. I'm sorry. But as I lay in bed that night, listening to Darren's breathing beside me, I knew sorry wasn't enough. The damage was spreading, infecting every relationship I cared about. And instead of stopping, instead of choosing my family, I was already planning when I could see Kellen again. My phone lit up with another message. Can't wait to see your beautiful smile tomorrow. I should have deleted it. I should have blocked his number and focused on fixing what I was breaking at home. Instead, I smiled in the dark and typed back, me too. The receipt fell out of my coat pocket like a confession. I watched it flutter to the laundry room floor, a small slip of paper that might as well have been a stick of dynamite. Darren picked it up before I could react. The grind, he read aloud, his voice carefully neutral. Tuesday, 1:47 p.m. Wasn't that when you said you were doing inventory? My mouth went dry. That must be old, from weeks ago. The date says last Tuesday, Isolde. I could feel myself scrambling, my brain spinning excuses like a slot machine. Oh, right. I grabbed coffee on my way back from the vendor meeting. I told you about that, remember? The tech solutions thing? Darren's eyes searched my face. You said the meeting ran long, that you lost track of time. It did. I needed caffeine afterward. You know how those technical discussions drain me. He folded the receipt carefully and slipped it into his wallet. The gesture felt ominous, like he was collecting evidence. But evidence of what? Having coffee wasn't a crime. Right, he said finally. I forgot. But I could see he hadn't forgotten anything. If anything, he was remembering too much. All the late nights, the secretive phone calls, the way I'd been pulling away from him and Mia. At school the next day, I tried to focus on work, but my conversation with Darren kept replaying in my mind. I was reshelving returned books when Sarah Mitchell from the English department appeared at my desk. Hey, Isolde. Weird question, but was that you I saw at the grind yesterday? With that cute tech guy? My blood turned to ice. Yesterday? Around lunchtime. You two looked pretty cozy. Sarah's tone was light, gossipy, but I could hear the underlying curiosity. In a school this small, gossip traveled faster than wildfire. Oh, that. I forced a laugh. Just discussing the new computer system. So boring I needed caffeine to survive it. Sarah nodded, but I caught the look in her eyes. She wasn't buying it any more than Darren had. That afternoon I called my sister Celia, desperate to talk to someone who might understand. I think Darren suspects something, I said, pacing my empty library. Suspects what? Celia's voice was sharp. Isolde, please tell me you're not actually having an affair. It's not an affair. We're just talking. He makes me feel appreciated, you know? Like I matter. And your husband doesn't? When was the last time Darren really looked at me? Really listened when I talked? He's so wrapped up in work, I feel invisible. Celia sighed. So talk to him about that. Don't... Whatever this is you're doing. I'm not doing anything wrong, I insisted. We're friends. Is that illegal now? Friends don't usually require this level of secrecy, Izzy. But I was already pulling away from the conversation. Celia didn't understand. None of them did. They saw Darren as the perfect husband, stable, reliable, devoted. They didn't see how that stability could feel like suffocation, how his reliability had become predictability, how his devotion felt more like obligation. That evening, Darren was unusually quiet during dinner. He helped Mia with her homework, read her a bedtime story, went through all the motions of normalcy. But I could feel him watching me, evaluating my every word and gesture. After Mia was asleep, I found him in the kitchen, washing dishes with mechanical precision. Everything okay? I asked. Fine. He didn't look up from the sink. You seem distant. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Distant. That's rich. What's that supposed to mean? He finally turned to face me, and I was startled by the pain in his eyes. When was the last time we had a real conversation, Isolde? When was the last time you asked about my day and actually listened to the answer? I ask about your day all the time. While scrolling through your phone. While thinking about something else. You're here, but you're not really here. The accusation stung because it was partially true. But instead of acknowledging it, I deflected. You're one to talk. You work 16-hour days during tax season. To provide for our family. Everything I do is for you and Mia. And what about what I do? I work too, you know. I take care of Mia, manage the house. I know that. I appreciate that. But lately it feels like you resent us for existing. The words hit too close to home. That's not true. Isn't it? You mock me in front of my mother. You're secretive about where you go and who you talk to. You've been pulling away from both me and Mia for weeks. My phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Kellen. Missing your smile today. Everything okay? Darren's eyes flicked to the phone, then back to my face. Celia again? Probably. I moved to grab the phone, but Darren was faster. Let me see. What? No! I lunged for the phone, but he held it out of reach. If it's just Celia, why can't I see? Because it's private. Since when do we read each other's messages? Since my wife started lying about where she spends her afternoons. The accusation hung between us like a loaded gun. I could see the hurt and suspicion warring in his expression, and for a moment, I almost told him everything. Almost explained about feeling invisible, about needing someone to see me as more than just a wife and mother. Instead, I went on the attack. I can't believe you don't trust me. Give me a reason to trust you. 8 years of marriage isn't enough? It used to be. The simple statement broke something inside me. I snatched my phone back and deleted Kellen's message without reading it. There. Happy now? But Darren just shook his head. No, Isolde, I'm not happy at all. He left me standing in the kitchen, my phone clutched in my trembling hands. I wanted to follow him, to explain, to fix whatever was breaking between us. But I also wanted to text Kellen back, to lose myself in someone who thought I was worth pursuing? I chose neither. Instead, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat at the kitchen table, staring at my reflection in the dark window. The woman looking back at me seemed like a stranger, someone I wasn't sure I liked very much. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Kellen. "If you need to talk, I'm here. Always." I stared at the words for a long time before finally typing back, "Thank you. I might take you up on that." Upstairs, I could hear Darren moving around our bedroom, getting ready for bed. Soon he'd be lying next to me, and we'd maintain the pretense of normalcy for another night. But something fundamental had shifted. The trust that had been the foundation of our marriage was cracking, and instead of trying to repair it, I was actively making it worse. I told myself I was just confused, just going through a rough patch. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was choosing the excitement of something new over the security of something real. And with each choice, each lie, each deleted message, I was destroying the life I'd built with a good man who deserved so much better than what I was giving him. The manila envelope appeared on our kitchen counter like a death sentence. I stared at it while pouring my morning coffee, my hands trembling as I recognized the law firm's letterhead, Peterson and Associates. Darren had left for work early, again, but this time I suspected it wasn't just about tax deadlines. Inside were divorce papers and a note in Darren's careful handwriting. "We need to talk tonight, after Mia goes to bed." My legs gave out, and I sank into a kitchen chair. This wasn't happening. Sure, we'd been having problems, but divorce, over some harmless flirting and a few coffee dates? I'd been careful, discreet. How could he possibly know about... My phone rang. Celia. "Is he? Darren called me. He's filing for divorce?" "I know." My voice sounded hollow, detached. "What happened? What did you do?" The question hit like a slap. "Why do you assume I did something?" "Because I know you, and I know Darren. He's not the type to give up on a marriage without a damn good reason." I closed my eyes, feeling the walls of my carefully constructed lies beginning to crumble. It's complicated. Uncomplicated for me. But before I could answer, my phone beeped with another call. "Ruth. I have to go," I told Celia. "Isolde, don't you dare." I switched to Ruth's call, bracing myself for her wrath. "You selfish, destructive woman," she said without preamble. "How could you do this to him? To Mia?" "Ruth, I don't know what Darren told you, but he told me enough. My son is heartbroken, and that beautiful granddaughter of mine is going to grow up in a broken home because you couldn't keep your vows." The line went dead. I sat in my empty kitchen, surrounded by the debris of my imploding life, and finally let myself cry. That evening, after Mia was tucked into bed with extra hugs and reassurances that everything would be okay, Darren and I sat across from each other at our dining room table like opposing lawyers. "I hired an attorney," he said without preamble. "I can see that." I gestured to the papers spread between us. "Don't you think you're overreacting? We can work through this." "Can we?" He pulled out his phone and opened a video file. "Because I'm not sure we can work through this." My heart stopped. On the screen was dash cam footage of my car parked outside the grind. The timestamp read, Thursday, 2:15 p.m., the day I'd told him I was staying late for a faculty meeting. In the video, I could be seen walking into the cafe, and moments later, Kellen appeared, taking my hand as we found a secluded table. "That's not what it looks like," I said automatically. "Really?" "Because it looks like my wife meeting another man for a romantic lunch while lying to me about her whereabouts. We were just talking. It was innocent." Darren's laugh was bitter. "Innocent? Is that what you call this?" He swiped to another video, this one showing Kellen walking me to my car, his hand on the small of my back, both of us laughing. The timestamp showed it was nearly 2 hours later. "You've been spying on me?" "I've been trying to save my marriage. I installed the dash cam because I hoped I was wrong, that my wife wasn't having an affair. I wanted proof that I was being paranoid. It's not an affair. We didn't sleep together. Is that supposed to make me feel better? That you're only emotionally cheating on me? The words hung in the air like accusations. I wanted to deny it, to explain that it wasn't cheating, just friendship. But looking at the evidence on his phone, seeing myself through his eyes, I realized how it appeared. Darren, please. I made a mistake, but we can fix this. A mistake? He scrolled through his phone. Let me show you what a pattern looks like. The next video was from the previous week. Same cafe, same lies, same betrayal. Then another from 2 weeks before that. He had documented everything. My lies about working late, faculty meetings that didn't exist, vendor appointments that were fiction. How long? I whispered. How long what? How long have you been lying to me, or how long have I known about it? Both. I've suspected for about a month. I've had proof for 2 weeks. He put his phone away. As for how long you've been lying, that's something you'll have to tell your attorney. My attorney? You'll need one. I'm filing for divorce, and I'm seeking primary custody of Mia. The words hit me like a physical blow. You can't take my daughter away from me. I'm not taking her away. I'm protecting her from the chaos you've created. His voice was steady, but I could see the pain underneath. She's been asking why Mommy is always sad, why we don't laugh together anymore. She knows something's wrong, Isolde. Kids aren't stupid. I love Mia. I'm a good mother. Are you? Because good mothers don't forget to pick up their children from school. Good mothers don't lie about where they spend their afternoons. Good mothers don't mock their children's fathers in front of family. Each accusation was a dagger. I wanted to defend myself, to explain that I'd been drowning, that I'd needed something to make me feel alive again. But looking at the evidence spread across our table, I realized how selfish it all sounded. What do you want from me? I asked finally. I want you to sign the papers. I want you to agree to joint custody with me having primary residence. And I want you to stop lying. And if I don't? Then we'll let a judge decide, and I'll show them everything, the videos, the phone records my attorney subpoenaed, the statements from your coworkers who saw you with him. My blood ran cold. Phone records? Text messages, call logs, everything. Did you really think deleting them from your phone made them disappear forever? I felt sick. How many messages had I sent to Kellen? How many lies had I told? How much evidence was there of my deception? This is insane. You're destroying our family over some text messages and coffee dates. I'm not destroying anything. You already did that. He stood up, gathering the papers. I'm just cleaning up the mess. Darren, please. I know I made mistakes, but I love you. I love our family. He paused at the doorway, his back to me. If you loved our family, you would have fought for it instead of running to another man the moment things got difficult. I didn't run to him. I needed someone to see me. I saw you. I've always seen you. But apparently, I wasn't enough. The simple statement broke my heart, because it was true. He had seen me, had loved me, had built a life with me, and I'd thrown it all away for the fleeting excitement of being pursued by someone new. You were enough, I whispered, but he was already gone. I sat alone at our dining room table, surrounded by legal documents that would dissolve 8 years of marriage, and finally understood the magnitude of what I'd done. I'd destroyed my family for a fantasy, traded something real and lasting for something shallow and temporary. My phone buzzed. A text from Kellen. Heard through the grapevine that you're having some trouble at home. If you need somewhere to stay. I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it without responding. For the first time in weeks, I saw Kellen clearly. Not as my salvation, but as the catalyst for my destruction. He was offering me a place to stay, not a future. He was interested in the thrill of an affair, not the reality of a relationship with a divorced mother. I'd given up everything for nothing. Upstairs, I could hear Darren moving around in the guest bedroom where he'd been sleeping for the past week. Soon, he'd be moving out entirely, taking Mia with him on weekends, dividing our life into custody schedules and asset distributions. I thought about going upstairs, begging him to reconsider, promising to change. But the evidence was damning, and more importantly, the trust was gone. You can't rebuild a marriage on the ashes of betrayal, no matter how much you want to. Instead, I called the attorney whose card was paper-clipped to the divorce papers and made an appointment for the next day. If Darren wanted a fight, I'd give him one. I wasn't going to lose my daughter without a battle. But even as I made the appointment, I knew I was fighting from a position of weakness. The videos, the phone records, the pattern of lies, it all painted a picture of a woman who'd put her own desires above her family's well-being. And the worst part? It was all true. The courthouse smelled like disappointment and broken promises. I sat beside my attorney, Jennifer Walsh, watching Darren and his legal team arrange their evidence with military precision. 3 months had passed since that terrible night at our dining room table, and I'd spent every day since then trying to build a defense against the mountain of proof he'd accumulated. "Remember," Jennifer whispered, "stick to the facts. Don't get emotional, don't make excuses, and whatever you do, don't lie. The judge has seen all the evidence." All the evidence. The phrase made my stomach churn. Darren's attorney had been thorough. Phone records showing hundreds of texts between Kellen and me, bank statements proving I'd lied about my whereabouts, witness statements from school colleagues who'd seen us together, and those damning dashcam videos with their irrefutable timestamps. Judge Patricia Hernandez called the court to order, and I felt like I was watching someone else's life implode. This couldn't be happening to me. 6 months ago, I'd been a respected middle school librarian with a stable marriage and a beautiful daughter. Now I was sitting in family court, fighting for custody of my own child. "Mr. Peterson," Judge Hernandez addressed Darren's attorney, "please present your opening statement." "Your Honor, this case is about trust, responsibility, and what's best for 6-year-old Mia Maynard. The evidence will show that Mrs. Maynard engaged in a pattern of deception that undermines her fitness as a primary caregiver." I watched Darren as his attorney spoke. He looked older, worn down by months of legal proceedings and the stress of single parenting. Part of me wanted to reach across the aisle and apologize, to tell him I never meant for it to go this far. But another part of me, the part that felt cornered and desperate, wanted to fight back. When Jennifer gave my opening statement, she focused on my role as a devoted mother, my clean record, my stable employment. She painted my relationship with Kellen as a brief lapse in judgment during a difficult period in my marriage, not a pattern of destructive behavior. But I could see the judge wasn't buying it. Not when Darren's attorney began presenting the evidence. "Your Honor, I'd like to show the court Exhibit A dashcam footage from Mrs. Maynard's vehicle." The video played on a large screen for everyone to see. There I was, meeting Kellen at the grind while I was supposed to be at a faculty meeting. The timestamp was clear. March 15th, 2:15 p.m. I watched myself laugh at something he said, watched him take my hand across the table, watched us leave together after 2 hours. Mrs. Maynard told her husband she was attending a mandatory faculty meeting that afternoon. The attorney continued. School records show no such meeting occurred. More videos surfaced. Each one showed me lying, sneaking around, choosing my affair over my family. In one, I ran out of a cafe to meet Kellen, leaving Mia waiting alone after school. Darren's attorney said the footage proved a pattern of deception and neglect. He wasn't wrong. Darren testified first. His voice cracked as he spoke about Mia's nightmares, how she feared we'd disappear like her friend's parents. "I told her we both loved her," he said. "I'd been too consumed by my own emptiness to see what it was doing to her. Ruth called me cruel, mocking her son in front of our daughter. Even my sister Celia said I'd been secretive and defensive. When my turn came, I tried to explain. Loneliness, neglect, needing to feel seen. I never meant for it to go this far, I said. The judge's question cut through me. When a parent consistently chooses desire over duty, what would you call that? I had no answer. Then they played the recording from Mia's therapy session. Mommy cries a lot, my daughter's small voice said. She's always looking at her phone. Daddy always looks at my drawings. It broke me. When the verdict came, it was swift. Darren received primary custody. I got supervised visits, 2 hours at a time, watched by a stranger. I lost my home, my marriage, my reputation, all for a man who disappeared the moment things got hard. That night, I sat in my empty apartment surrounded by silence. My phone stayed dark. No messages from Kellen, no calls from family. The woman I'd been, loved, trusted, needed, was gone. I'd wanted to be seen, and now I was. Seen as the woman who destroyed her family for nothing. The timestamp on that video wasn't just evidence. It was the moment I chose to end the life I'd built. And unlike my deleted messages, that proof will never fade. It will always be there. The day I traded everything good in my life for nothing at all. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.